Great day and welcome to Creating Environments to Optimize Positive Behavior for Students with Emotional Disturbance. I'm Dave Dembo, and I'm happy to go on this journey with you to embark on our love and enjoyment for serving students with exceptionalities. To our classroom, after you're being assigned for the very first time, not knowing what you're going into, you walk inside and you notice kids are all running around and doing their own little thing. And so you say, I need everybody to take a seat and let's get started. And all of a sudden, this happens. A kid starts screaming, another one starts screaming, they start cussing, they start carrying on. They're doing everything that they want to do. And you're standing there saying, what do I do? How do I handle this situation? You run to the principal's office immediately, not realizing and knowing that, whoops, he or she forgot to mention that you are no longer the special ed resource teacher, or you are no longer the general education teacher because you're certified in special ed, or even better, he just needs you to cover the room, or she just needs someone in there to assist while they work things out. And so now you're working that self-contained classroom where students with emotional disturbance are being educated. You then begin to say, what do I do? How do I get through this? There has to be a way. And guess what? There is. As that paper flies away, we want to define what emotional disturbance is. According to the Individuals with Disabilities Act, it is one of the 13 identified exceptionalities. Now, the state of Connecticut added it to its general state statute because they liked the way it was worded by the IDEA. And it stands for an inability. But before I get there, I want to outline that a student must meet one or more of these as a criteria for being diagnosed with emotional disturbance. So that is an inability to learn, not due to intellectual or health concerns. It's that invisible part where they have to do a little digger deeping. It's that inability to build and maintain strong relationships with other students. So it's if I'm hitting others and I don't know how to interact with others, I'm saying inappropriate stuff that I shouldn't say to others, I'm telling people off or cussing them out. That's what falls under this part. It's that inability and that appropriateness of being able to show appropriate feelings under normal circumstances. So knowing how to really interact with others. It's that inability or the idea that I'm always depressed, I'm always upset, I'm always unhappy, everything bothers me. It's that inability and that tendency to fear going to school or fear being around other people because of other problems that I'm experiencing. And since I have that, now I have to look at the term as a whole in the umbrella of what exactly falls under it in terms of the categories. So what categories fall under the umbrella of being a student with an emotional disturbance? We have anxiety disorders, where some students get really worked up if someone makes a sudden move or sudden noises or it's too loud in the classroom. We have students that experience bipolar disorder, where 1 minute they're happy, the next minute they're crying or having a nervous breakdown. It's the conduct disorders, the ones that are having the challenges with finding ways to act socially appropriate in front of others. And so they're not sure how to get through it. It's the ones that have the eating disorders, whether they're experiencing anorexia or they're experiencing, I just have to eat to hide my fears and get away. It's obsessive compulsive disorder, when things have to flow in a certain direction or be on a certain routine. And if they come off that routine, I don't know how to respond or compose myself so that I can stay focused. It's also psychotic disorders, such as schizophrenia or students with autism that need certain levels of structure to stay focused. So now that we've defined what an emotional disturbance is and the different disorders that fall under the umbrella, we now begin or need to start looking at what we can do to better service our students with exceptionalities so that we can create environments to optimize positive behaviors for them. Well, I'm glad that we're looking at this because one thing we can do is set clear behavioral rules for the whole classroom. When rules are clear or written as SMART rules, specific, measurable, achievable, reliable, and timely, students have a better chance of being able to follow along with the norms of the room. So there's an organization called Boys Town that was started over 100 years ago by a gentleman by the name of Father Flanagan. Father Flanagan's goal during his time was to rehabilitate boys, providing them with a second chance at life. From his introduction of this program until now, their nonprofit organization has now turned into a big deal that services schools, parents, and students. What we're looking at here are two examples of their target goals or classroom expectations. Notice when we look at the one that says following instructions, it says first goal is to look at the person. Second goal is to say okay. Third is to do what's being asked of you right away. And fourth is to check back in. We want to make sure that they're asking, hey, is there anything else I can do? And then when we look at the other one in terms of staying on task, look at our assignment. Think about what is needed to be completed. Stay focused on it. Stop working with or when I'm given an instruction, but more importantly, ignore those distractions that are happening around me. These two clearly set out and outline how a student can stay successful. So now they know what they're working towards. It provides them with that opportunity to be able to navigate through and know what they can do or how they can get someone's attention or complete an assignment. Keep in mind, you don't want to put up 50 of these. You want to try to stick to no more than 13. What else can we also do? I'm glad you asked. When you make the routines in your classroom consistent or repetitious, students will be able to know what to expect next so that they're not living in that level of fear or being defiant. In front of us, we have here a routine that is broken down for everyone. We have morning meeting, literacy, academic enhancement, so forth down to dismissal. These routines need to be in order as they are happening so that you can prevent any further behaviors from occurring in your room. Notice how there are check marks next to everything that has been completed. It allows the student to be able to see, oh, we're making an accomplishment and we're moving through the day. Now keep in mind, you may see their academic enhancement. That consists of gym, art, music, and library. The reason it's labeled that way is so that the students know it may change, but at that same time it happens. If you want to change and write the exact academic enhancement that is happening, by all means go ahead. But the idea is to make it, again, readable. Now you may have some students that need one of these personally on their desk. Well, guess what? Go ahead and do it. If it's going to help to create environments to optimize positive behaviors for students with emotional disturbance, go for it because we're here to better serve them. What else can I do? I'm glad you asked. I can communicate with parents, letting them know how their child is progressing through the day. What does that look like? Well, it could be something as simple as a form like this that outlines all the things the child did for the day. It says how they did in math, how they did in science, and provides an extra opportunity for you to write an extra note at the bottom. Now, you may not have access to paper like that in some schools, and that's okay. A phone call works just as well. Calling the parent to let the parent know how a student is doing in school also reinforces with that student that there's that consistency that mom and our teacher are on the same team. You also have, if the parent picks the student up, you can speak to them directly. Keep in mind, parents and you are on the same team when it comes to planning and placement of the child. We want to see the student stay successful, and we can do that by interacting with one another. What else can we do? Well, guess what? Just because I communicate with the parent, I put the routines up, and I make the rules clear, I want to know how that child is feeling. I want that child to know that I'm going to communicate with them as well. That means I'm going to complete verbal and nonverbal communication. What does that look like? Well, nonverbal communication can look like this: placing a simple note telling the child that they're doing a good job or to stay focused. It doesn't require me to read the note, but to pass it on to the student and let the student read it for themselves. Again, we want them to know that we are paying attention. Verbal could be, hey, I want to thank you for staying on task. I want to thank you for completing your assignment. I'm asking that everyone sit down. Thank you so much for doing that right away. I like how you're working. I like how you're engaged. It can also be a simple sign that you put on the desk that shows, hey, you're doing an excellent job and I've spotted it. Now, these same verbal and nonverbal communication forms also work when a child is having a challenging behavior. For example, how many of us have seen this one before? I'm watching you. How about this one? The famous turn around, face forward. You also have general statements that can be made. I'm asking the whole class to turn around, take out their pencils and their notebooks, and track me. I want to make sure that every student is aware that we are in class and we do have an assignment to complete. These forms of communications continue to reinforce for the student how well they're doing and if there are any challenges. Please keep in mind, the less of a scene when it comes to the challenge, the better off you are. Make sure your voice stays at a very calm tone or that your gestures are very warm and mild. What else can I do? I'm glad you asked again. I can allow students to also share how they're feeling. It is important to know how a student is feeling. As if a student is experiencing an anxiety attack, you want them to be able to tell you something. So what are some ways we can do that? Well, have the students create a classroom charter so they know how they want to feel. And in order to feel this way consistently, what needs to happen? So if I want to feel excited, I may want to feel this way consistently by respecting others. Other forms of having students express their feelings look like this. These were currently on a student's desk. The first one is called a mood meter. Yale School of Education and Social Emotional Learning developed this concept called ruler, where the two items you see here are a part of that. You have the mood meter, where the child is able to express how they're feeling, where the child is able to point out and use adjectives to state if they're feeling chill, optimistic, angry, furious, relaxed, disappointed, enraged, or joyful. By a student being able to express that, you now can determine how to respond to the appropriate behavior. Below that, you see our meta moment man. And the great thing about the meta moment man is it is a 6-step process where the student can go ahead and begin to figure things out. Number 1 says, something happens. Number 2 says, I sense it. It's bothering me. Number 3 says that I need to then stop at that point and go straight to step 4, which is to think about how I can see my best self. Then step 5 means I need to come up with a strategy so that I can get to step 6 and succeed. There are times talking a student through this, they then can see their best self and move forward. It's important, again, that a child has that opportunity to share their feelings about situations, about the assignment at hand, as again, it will help you to set up behaviors for students with emotional disturbance. And there's one other thing that I can do, and that is use a point system for self-monitoring. I want a student to be aware of what's going on. So as I'm walking around giving out those nonverbal cues, I'm also looking for some very specific praise or general praise or effective praise for the student to know that I'm watching and monitoring and seeing the level of success that you're achieving, or if there are some challenges that we need to address so that we can move forward. Here are 2 examples, again, from the Boys Town model that allows the students to develop target areas that they're working towards for the day. It allows them to track how they're doing academically. It allows them to also be able and track their challenges that they have. And if they're able to practice them off or talk to a teacher or a staff member to be able to see their best self, while also looking at other positive behaviors for their level of success. With this point system in place, students can and will thrive and strive to do better because now they're starting to realize they're feeling accepted, warm, and welcomed into a room. So you say to yourself, what now? You have a definition of emotional disturbance and different exceptionalities or disorders that fall under that category. You have 6 starting tools to get you going so that you know how to begin to set up your classroom so that you can create environments to optimize positive behaviors for students with emotional disturbance. You also have a stepping stone to now go ahead and do more research. Remember, what I've mentioned may not work for every student, but working on being able to get the majority of the students engaged, they will then come together and fall along. There are many different scientific research methods that have been put in place to help to be successful. So what now? Now it's time for us to get in action. Now it's time for us to make it happen. It's time for us to smell success and breathe determination as we want to be able to help these students out so that they can continue to stay successful and transition into the life that they need to endure. Your time is very important and precious, and so we don't want to prolong the situation, but we want to encourage you and let you know that you now have it. Go forward, complete the research, and stay on the path of being able to service students with exceptionalities. Again, this setup is to start you off so that your class stays successful. I've included my references as well so that you can go back and dive deeper or dig in and just push to be able to see what else is out there. Thank you for your time. And I pray that you have a successful year and a successful time working with students with emotional disturbance. Take care.